Good afternoon.
Hey everybody, it's our Lockdown Light series.
Do you know something? BBC have really copied us. Because we started Lockdown Light and then the morning news programme here started this little segment called Lockdown Life. I think they're copying us. And we started first.
Yeah.
Personally.
I'm actually a bit, I had 4 Zoom calls the other day. One was pastoral, which my pastoral skills are well known
throughout the earth.
Well, it was pretty far away. And a couple of board meetings of charities that I'm on, and a church, and then something else. So, Zoom. In fact, it's funny, Lucy said to us, Iris, our 5-year-old granddaughter, she was playing with her Barbies, and Lucy overheard her saying, lined them up and went, "Quiet girls, I'm on a Zoom."
She's a true lockdown
She
child.
is a true lockdown child. So we're zooming away here and getting ready for the weekend. Any big plans for the weekend?
Big plans, all big stuff. Big stuff.
Well, tell us what about God and stuff like that then.
Well, there's a verse for today on the Bible app, and yesterday it said, "Don't just love in words and speech, but in action and truth." And that, I was thinking about that. And do you know something? I'm married to a man who loves in action and truth. We were almost out of milk, and he left a wee dribble at the bottom for my coffee in the morning.
I did.
Now, what about that for loving in action?
And especially it's your birthday coming up on Sunday.
Was that my birthday?
Susan's.
Was that my birthday
That
present?
was a wee.
That was my birthday
There's a
present.
foretaste of what's to come.
Oh dear. A little trickle of milk.
Anyway, what is the plan?
Keep going.
Keep going, come on.
Anyway,
Time's going
that
by.
really
Yeah.
spoke to me. And then my reading that morning was the story in John about Jesus going to the pool where the man who had been paralysed for 38 years had been waiting. There was this miracle
Stirring
that
up the
happened
water,
when the
sort of
water
thing.
stirred.
The angel came.
And Jesus comes up to him and he says to him, a very unusual question, "Do you want to be healed?" You sort of think the fellow would say, like, "I've been coming here for 38 years. What do you think?"
Duh.
But nevertheless, Jesus tells him to pick up his mat to walk, which he does, much to the annoyance of the Pharisees. And then later on in the story, it says Jesus meets him again at the temple. And he says this to him. He says, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." And I think from our perspective, there's a sort of deep intake of breath when you read that. You should think, "Oh my goodness." But the more I thought about it, I think that's why Jesus said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" Because earlier on in John, I think it's at the end of John 2, John remarks that Jesus knows what's in the heart of every man. John actually makes that statement. And that was in my head as I read this, and I thought, Jesus knew what was in this guy's heart. I think for us, if we had seen him, all of our empathy, all of our sympathy would have been engaged.
How you doing?
Yes, and we would have said, he deserves to be healed. But Jesus loved him and saw beyond that. He wanted to heal him, but I think Jesus wanted also to touch his heart. He knew what was inside the man. He knew what was going on inside him, and he wanted to touch that as much as he wanted to touch him physically. And that really spoke to me, that ability to have love in action, but also to speak truth. Because I think sometimes we're not so good at doing those two things together. And, from a superficial look at it, you might think, "Oh, that was a bit hard of Jesus when he met him again to say, 'Stop sinning or something worse will happen to you.'" And no way am I don't read from this, I'm connecting sin to sickness. But Jesus, this was a particular man that he was meeting, and it was a particular word to this particular man. And so I just thought it was so interesting and challenging how Jesus showed love and truth in action because he wanted to touch the whole person.
That's very profound. It reminds me of a little phrase that I often use, which is this, that a crisis without a process becomes an abscess.
Pithy.
pithy. So a crisis without a process becomes an abscess. I suppose in all of our lives we're always looking for a breakthrough. And I always say, you know, as we did the other day, one touch from the King changes everything, and that's true. But I tend to say today, you know, one touch from the King changes everything as long as you put a process to change your life. So when I say that, I mean, I think Jesus is saying to him, look, you had your moment, you had your crisis, if you like. Now if it's not followed up by a new lifestyle, a new mentality, and a new openness to God, you'll lose what you already had. And that's what that means. A crisis without a process becomes an abscess. Because you look back at the crisis and you go, oh, nothing really happened because nothing changed. I think it's a real challenge for us in Christianity and in our faith that we're always looking for a breakthrough, God to come along and solve everything. But unless we put some things in place to follow on from God's touch in our life, nothing will actually change. I remember when I used to do series the odd time on money, you know, finance, giving, generosity. We nearly always put on a couple of seminars the week after on 2 Saturday mornings. One, how to get out of debt, and the other one, how to budget. Because there's no point in getting people all stirred up and feeling guilty that they're not giving enough and trying to give out of their debt if you don't help them to put a process in place that will change their life. I think there's something in that for us all in the church. You know, we're always looking for instantaneous breakthrough, something that will change everything instantaneously. The reality is, a moment can change things in your life, but if you want to really change things, you've got to put something in place.
Which yes, and
isn't that right?
And I think it reflects. I think it reflects the fact that the Lord wants us to be, you know, continually walking and growing in Him. And I do love the fact that he cared enough about this man, not just to give him an amazing miracle where he starts to walk again, but he didn't want him then to go back and be in a worse place than he was in. But he wanted to see him actually becoming a disciple. And so, you know,
I thank God for all the breakthroughs I've had in our life. I've had some wonderful things, and we're looking for a few more.
But we want to walk in it.
We want to walk in it.
We want to walk in it. And the other thing I think, you know, as we have been doing these few lockdown nights and sharing probably from our readings of the week, you know, whenever I read this and I felt I got new light out of the story, to be honest. I felt like the Holy Spirit highlighted this to me. It just really encouraged my heart that we're still in relationship with a God who speaks to us and feeds us. He keeps on wanting to feed us. So with that in mind,
you haven't got a poem there, have you?
I looked out at my wee bird table.
Did you write this today?
No, yesterday.
Wow.
And the bird table was
Hot off
empty,
the press.
and all the wee birds were coming to eat from it, but we had been too lazy to go out and put any food on the table. So with this in mind, this is what I wrote. The bird table lies empty, but still they come with expectant hearts, but leave on disappointed wing. The angry cold rain and wind had left their provider huddled under a warm blanket, unwilling to venture out, just a few uncomfortable steps to be the answer to their tiny hopes. Not so with you. Whatever the storm, you brave all to meet me in my need.
That's lovely. I'm going to get some bird seed out now for the birds. Okay, bye everybody.